You can find him in the chat, type of worth it. And that's Hornet, stuck in little hell. Thought it was going up, once again it fell. Never spent a single dime alone. And if you step into his jungle, expect a brawl. Auslander, math specialist. He's precise, doesn't tolerate estimates. The man's addicted as every hero. You can tell cause his bank account's stuck at zero. And last but not least, your host Ponophobia. Picks an 80 carry, and he's on ya. He's got the full mouth, ground and pound. Don't get excited, it's not as sexy as it sounds. That's your whole team, enjoy the podcast. Put your headphones on, we'll have a blast. We're checking email and Twitter, of course. Just don't ask us how 4 guys make a try for us.
Welcome, guys. You are listening to Trinity Force Podcast, episode number 35. I am your host at SK Pone. My name is also Ponophobia. You find us on ggchronicle.com. I am joined by, as always, by TheOddOne.
Hey, how's it going?
And Optimus Tom is here with us.
Yep, here and strong. I'm not mute.
And not muted. And
Yes.
Unfortunately, Hornet is on vacation this week, so we brought in Soter, who is our resident high elo player from GG Chronicle. Soter, please say hi.
Hello, good to be here.
And of course, everyone who's sitting and watching this week is waiting for TheOddOne. Please, OddOne, say hello.
Yay. Hi.
And he's going to be sitting on with us this week. We'll be, interviewing him, asking him some awesome questions. You guys had saw the Reddit League of Legends post that we put up there saying, hey guys, we need some questions for TheOddOne, and we have a whole bunch of them. Thank you for participating in that, everyone who did. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in with a bunch of questions for TheOddOne. And first of all, I want to start out, how are you doing tonight, OddOne? Are you feeling good?
I guess I'm doing good, yeah.
Some good games of solo queue today?
No.
Not a single one.
Not really.
And before we really jump into this, I want to say, and I'm going to tell TheOddOne again, please tell us to shut the fuck up if we say anything stupid, or, you can even tell the Auslander to shut the hell up as well, because he loves you so much that he just can't wait for you to berate him and belittle him.
He's the only person he won't tell you what not to do. Usually he yells back at us, but no, you'll be fine.
Yes, we're just one big family here. None of us are drinking tonight, unfortunately. Well, I don't know. Maybe TheOddOne is, but I know I'm not, which is different from normal Trinity Force podcast.
He was drinking beforehand just so he could make it through the podcast.
I was so stressing out before I got here today. I gotta get everything ready. I gotta get TheOddOne on. I gotta record his voice. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And so I bought a 6-pack of beer.
Who needs a therapist? You have alcohol.
Yeah, which is different from a normal day. How?
Not at all.
Not at all. You know what? I'm going to let Soter start off this interview because I know he had put a bunch of questions in our document. So Soter, do you mind asking a couple of them and kicking off this TheOddOne interview?
Oh my goodness, I don't mind asking a couple of them. I'm not sure if we should start from the top, but I guess we will since that makes the most sense. And the first question is, how far is Nunu away from viability in the jungle, especially in the competitive scene?
Pretty far, I'd say. His skill set is just mostly geared towards supporting his team, and it's really difficult for someone with his skill set to even kill anything in the jungle, even mid-game. Like, before the jungle change, when they made the camps were really weak or like easy, they did high damage, but they had low HP. But now they have high HP and low damage, which isn't good for someone who has a spell called Consume, which doesn't do anything outside the jungle. So, what really would have to be done is he'd either have to be really strong physically, or his Consume would have to actually be useful against champions or something else, because if you level that to make faster clear, you're going to be useless, because that's probably one of the only skills in the game that doesn't actually help a teammate or do anything to the enemy. So probably buff Consume, and maybe buff his passive, which is pretty bad because he runs out of mana if he uses Ice Blast to kill camps. So There's probably a lot to be done, honestly.
I saw the other day when you were playing him, you actually, I think you ran Wriggles and then went with the gold per 10 route. I mean, I guess that's a lot of wasted gold to kind of get him to a point where he can actually clear camps with autos. But do you think...
It's similar to Rammus, yeah. If you go Wriggles, you can start clearing it faster, but yeah, then again, you're already behind, and if you leveled Consume at all, you've lost a few skill points. But yeah, so...
Well, speaking of Rammus, I guess the same thing. We have a whole bunch of just small questions. Do you think Rammus will see any kind of tournament viability, or do you think he needs any kind of, any quality of life buffs to really put him back up there in the scene?
I think he's not very good right now. Stat-wise, he's pretty weak. Like, if he's out of defensive crew, he's going to get killed. If he like early game he gets destroyed. Like it's really hard to kill anything big with it. Like he's probably a weaker Hecarim right now. He has trouble killing like virtually everything. Like uh, like if you ever played Rammus and didn't go Wriggles, if you went the harder gold Philosopher's Stone build, you find yourself having trouble killing blue buff and red buff, and usually use your ultimate to kill them, and that's probably a bad sign that you have to use a minute cooldown spell to kill some camps. So, and also he has trouble killing the double buffs. So I mean double golems. So, aside from his slight early game gank, and he doesn't have much going for him because he's just weak counter jungling and not very strong offensively. And people just use Malphite, honestly, if they want a defensive tank like that. Malphite is getting really popular right now.
I know we were just talking about it last week. Trinity Force had, in the weeks past, we had called out a bunch of champions that we had thought may be viable at one point. Just for an example, we had called Supportish, and we had seen MTWNA play him, and now he wasn't necessarily viable as a support character, but we had been playing him and trying him out. You know, we saw him in a tournament, which was, you know, kind of cool to see something that we had talked about come up there, even if they didn't listen to us and come. And in going from that last couple weeks, Hornet, who's not on the call tonight, had called Malphite, and he didn't want to talk about him because he had seen he's so powerful, not even just out of the jungle, but in the top lane. And now watching solo queue, we see a lot of Malphite being played. And do you feel Malphite is at a good point in the game right now? No buffs, no nerfs. I mean, what are your feelings on Malphite being played now that he's been picked up a lot more?
Yeah, he's really popular right now. I'd say he's really strong in certain champions that are played. Like Nocturne has a lot of trouble dealing with him. Like it doesn't matter if he's jungle or top lane. Nocturne has like immense trouble dealing with him in team fights because Malphite with a frozen heart will essentially make Nocturne do no damage in a fight. So he's really popular recently. Like we saw him. I think Hazard played it for CLG. That was the first time in a while that someone played Malphite, and just more people are playing him now that his ultimate shouldn't be bugged anymore. Because I think a lot of people were scared of him because his ultimate bugged, it just wouldn't go off if you landed it perfectly on someone. So no one really wanted to play him, but right now he's in a decent spot because he just beats a lot of ADs. Like, the enemy AD carry will probably fear Malphite more than a lot of people because it's hard to get rid of him, and he just puts their DPS really low.
His base damage seems really good as well if you can get in there with the ultimate and then the ground slam.
Yeah,
but of course, go ahead.
Oh, his combo does a lot of damage. Like his W increases his damage as well, and then there's the E and the Q. So he actually has several spells that does do damage, which is really nice.
Right, I think he got a couple of base health buffs about 2 patches ago, and then of course, like you mentioned, they finally fixed his ultimate. I think it was 4 or 5 patches ago, so it was kind of inevitable that we would see him a little bit more. It is exciting, but now I almost feel like Riot has to tone him back a little bit. What do you think about that?
I don't know yet. We haven't seen enough. I don't know if we've seen enough yet because we've only seen Hazard play it. It's usually when a champion gets buffed, it doesn't get played until maybe a patch or 2 later. Till people realize that he was actually good. Like you saw Mundo, he got buffed, I believe, before IPL 4. He wasn't played until the tournaments after that. But yeah, he was buffed before then, but no one really used him that tournament. And yeah, so we'll probably see Malphite and Mumu on next few tournaments because those two are eventually gonna get up there.
Yep, it's gonna be like old school style AoE team comps with the Mumu, provided he doesn't get banned out.
Yeah, it could happen because a lot of our popular picks actually are AoE right now. There's Vladimir, Kennen, Morgana. Yeah, just the APs are really strong right now.
Now, when you build a team, when you're sitting there in the booth trying to think of, you've got 45, 60 seconds, whatever it may be, to go through the picks, do you guys have a team comp you're coming in there with, knowing when you're playing against, let's say Dignitas, for example? Do you have a team comp that you already have in mind that you want to play, but then you'll change, based on the fly, based on picks and bans, or do you guys just kind of go on a whim there?
It's probably, we'll probably pick on the fly. We usually, after the bans are set down, we pick a support, and then from there on out, so if we get Janna or something, we're already in good spot. We like neutral picks early, in the picking phase, unless you can get something that's really good in a combo, let's say Carpus Nocturne. You just want to pick neutral picks over and over until you realize you can punish the enemy for picking a weak champion. Like, if the enemy picks Vladimir, we know we can start counter jungling if we haven't already picked our jungle yet. So we can do that and just take a strong jungle, strong mid laner, and it doesn't really matter what the bottom does, but stuff like that. Or if Karthus Nocturne are both up, we'll just take both of those and start having. We'll make sure one of the lanes is a kill lane, so we can just combo the ults on that lane.
And what about Hecarim? I don't think he's like a top tier jungler, but it's one of those champions that maybe not tournament play, but I can speak for me and Poem, but we like really enjoyed your Hecarim games. What are your thoughts on Hecarim in general?
He's decent. He's not as bad as say Ramus. I think he's alright, but I'd probably prefer someone like he has a good early game advantage, but I think I'd prefer someone like Malphite or something because they have a better engage and more utility. The thing about Hecarim is he tanks a little bit, but people don't realize that's not enough usually. Like, I'd rather just Nautilus or Maokai if I wanted someone to do that. So I think people might place him too highly, but I think there are other better picks to pick. Unless they all get banned, then maybe you might pick them, but highly unlikely that many champions will get banned before you can pick Hecarim.
Now, speaking of Hecarim, can you do me a favor tomorrow and pick him and jungle him? And please say clippity cloppy quite a bit. Because it's one of the most... well, actually, you know what, Auslander? Can you tell him the story, please, of your Christmas day?
Oh, God.
All right. Well, I was seeing this girl, and she texted me on Christmas morning, like "Merry Christmas," whatever. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm eating sour Skittles and watching TheOddOne." And she's like, "What's an odd one?" And so I just took a picture of the bag of Skittles and my monitor, and with you playing League of Legends. And she's like, "Oh my God, you're 14," meaning me, not you.
Dope.
And ever since that day, you'll play Hecarim, and you run around, you'll say clippity cloppity, and Auslander and I will joke about it throughout the day. What can we do to get OddOne to play him? What can we do to get OddOne to entertain us?
I pretty much troll your chat and just type in.
Maybe you're the guy who has like several accounts saying play Hecarim.
No, it's just one, but thanks for the yeah, thanks for the idea. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow.
So
yeah, they don't have to work or anything. They're just going to troll your chat.
Well, a lot of us just like to sit around and watch the stream all day. We don't work at a coffee shop, Tom.
Yeah, I should be accounting, but I'll be watching streams.
He'd be counting the number of times that he says clippity cloppity in a matter of seconds. Bad math joke. Anyway. Kind of moving on, going through the number of junglers, that we've seen come in and come out of fashion. Skarner is a main one. We've seen a lot of solo queue. I know down in about 15 to 1700 elo, we'll see a lot of Skarner, but you get up higher, you don't. Do you feel that he's, falling out of favor for the other junglers? Is there anything that you may see that he needs to really buff him up?
It's probably mostly to do with the mana costs. Yeah, I think I heard M5 used him against COJEU, but he got like virtually every blue buff, so like that problem was solved. Like, you'd have to have a mid lane that doesn't want to use blue buff or can't really take advantage of blue buff to use him. He's somewhat risky, but if you're really ballsy, you can really catch people out of position. Like, I think it's similar to a novice hook. Like, if you flash or Shirelia's Skarner out so on, it's a really good engage, but if you can get away from that, he's average in a lot of aspects, but unless you like have something like that to engage with, and you give him blues, I don't think he's that great because he's mostly melee. And like, if you're thinking a melee champion that's like you just want something that's melee, you usually pick Mundo or something tanky. Skarner is not as tanky as Mundo, and like if you remove his ult, he doesn't do much, but if you can make effective use of his ultimate, you could be really good. But the reason why he's not as popular right now is because almost everything clears as fast as Skarner right now, which is the problem. Like, Skarner used to clear much faster than everyone else, then they nerfed him, then they changed to jungle, and then suddenly that's not so special anymore. So we'd have to see, but the team would have to give him every blue buff. So that sort of limits like what middle can do. If you give away all your blue buffs, that means middle has to fight with a liability if his opponent is getting all the blue buffs, and he isn't.
how much, kind of on the same topic, how much do you think is fair for the big minions in the jungle to refund in mana? Because of course they now have mana sigils. I believe they give 40 for like the big wraith, the big golem, and whatnot. But even still, with those changes, we see generally mana-related junglers fall behind the resourceless or energy-based junglers. How much more do they need to buff that up to make them really viable, like a Skarner, for instance, who falls behind if he can't get that blue buff?
I'm not sure because the thing is, if you buff it too much, then the guys that don't really fall behind, let's say Olaf, suddenly get really far ahead because if Olaf can spam his axes every camp, he will probably out jungle everyone else. But since he has that mana problem slightly, then he won't be able to do that. So it's because some of them have like costs associated with it. Like I know Siobhan. Like the thing about Siobhan is her skill set's like above average, is pretty decent, but it's not like fantastic. Like say Nautilus, like the person I think Nautilus should probably get a bunch of mana nerfs or something to slow him down. But so yeah, usually the manaless jungles have some costs associated. Like Mundo, if anyone's ever done a Mundo clear, it's usually cloth armor, 5 potions. Most jungles don't do that because they don't lose as much HP, but at the cost of speed, Mundo gets speed at the cost of having to go a really restricted build. Like using 5 potions is 150 something, 170 whatever gold, but yeah, it's at the cost of having the fastest jungle clear. So I'm not sure if they should really buff the mana or the mana that's given out at the big minions, because like it might make Skarner better, but then it would probably make someone like Olaf really, really good, and maybe Udyr much better. So you have to really watch out. Like Udyr already is one of the fastest clears. So, and also you have to take into account that mid lane usually steals my camps, so they would be getting a lot of mana back suddenly. So you'd have to watch out for that. So I'm not sure if they really need to change it yet.
Okay, yeah, that certainly makes sense. I was thinking, another 5 would be a good intermediary point, but yeah, I hadn't even thought of Olaf. He seems to be one of them that would be a real big issue, and then Nocturne, I guess, would have, pretty stellar clear times if he got a little bit more mana.
See more Olaf soon. I don't know. I just think he's really strong right now. So we'll see.
All right. I actually saw it. Sorry. Oh, go ahead, Alexander.
Oh, sorry. Do you think they need to do anything about the double golem camp? Like, I noticed a lot of people, you included, sometimes just won't even bother with it because of the distance you have to travel, and it's just kind of not worth your time to clear that camp unless you're going to actually go and gank as well.
I personally think so, because if you remember the old jungle, that camp was actually really good to do, because if you remember, it gave, I believe, 280 experience, which was far more than the other small camps. So it was like, if you lose a double golem camp, you lose a lot back then. But since now all the camps are like even, not only is it like out of the way, it's actually really hard to kill unless you're a physical damage jungle, because obviously, spells would do less. Like, most people have AoE spells, so it's not going to kill that camp that fast, because there's a big minion that's like over 1,000 HP, so they're going to use a lot of mana to kill it. So yeah, usually I just ignore that camp, because it's easier to kill the wolves and wraiths, because AoE damage destroys those, and they don't have 1,000 HP, like, from the get-go.
At any point in time in the game, I've noticed that you'll start in wolves, blue, wraiths, red, or you'll go right over to golems while you're waiting for your smite to come back up, because you have a faster jungler. Is there any point in the game, 14, 20 minutes, where you would just ignore golems altogether, or is that just after the first clear?
Usually if there's nothing to do, maybe I'd take it, but like, say if I'm Shyvana and my red buff's gone and my exhaust is gone, likely I won't be able to gank, so either I'm stealing from the enemy jungle or I'm clearing out all the camps. So if there's really nothing to do, you might as well go for the double golem camp. But if there is something to do, usually you'd clear a different camp, because the problem with the double golem camp, it's so far away. If you do it, it limits your options. Say your blue side, if you do double golem camp, then that means you're likely ganking bottom right after, or else then that just means you're doing a full clear otherwise, because you're in a horrible spot. It's slightly better on top side because everyone ganks top lane right now. So you can start ignoring it if there's tons of things to do, because once again, it's just far away from places. So I don't know if there's a specific timer for it, but usually, like if I'm a Maokai or something like that, I usually start ignoring it pretty fast because I know it'll take forever to kill and it takes like most of my mana just to finish it off.
Right. Tom, are you there still, buddy?
I'm still here.
Why don't you take over the next question for me?
I'm absorbing like all the information. Okay, I'm gonna kind of like bring it back towards more of like the different jungle characters, because this one kind of stuck out to me. When you guys were playing against CLG in the finals of MLG Anaheim, they were picking a lot of Shen, whether it was top lane, whether it was in jungle, or whatever it was. And there were a lot of times where Shen kind of was a big deal, and sometimes he just wasn't a big deal. And in the entire series, I don't think you guys wound up banning out Shen or trying to take Shen at all. So
actually, I think we banned it in the last 2 sets. Like, with Shen, so we started banning it over and over. I think we did it at GESL as well. I think we banned Shen every time against them.
Yeah, as I said, I saw you guys doing it more in the GESL after the MLG finals. But how do you feel about Shen in the jungle? Because a lot of people like playing him top lane and as a split pusher. What do you think he adds to the jungle? And like, how do you feel like, is he more viable than certain junglers, or when would you use him?
So I think he's similar to Nautilus. Him and Nautilus are just too strong if they don't get stopped early. If they don't get slowed down, they basically take over the game if they get the farm, because yeah, I've always usually said this like months ago, like those two skill are the best out of like any jungle right now, and if you don't counter jungle them, then they'll just completely dominate you. Like probably Shen is probably up there for, yeah, Shen Nautilus out of the jungles are probably up there for most likely to get a nerf soon because of that, because it's really risky to try to stop them, and it takes no risk for a Shen Nautilus to farm. So all the risk is on the opposing team to slow them down, and it's hard to slow them down. They're pretty tanky, and it takes more skill to slow down a Nautilus / Shen for them to farm and just avoid you. So they'll probably nerf it somehow, because Shen has been nerfed about 6 times and still is picked virtually every game. I think DreamHack, he was banned or picked every game. So you know it's a problem champion went like that. So I'm still wondering why they haven't nerfed the global effect on it. He's one of the few people that actually have a true global. Like it's across map. You could dick around at Fountain and still be able to be in all range, which is sort of weird considering they nerfed all the other ones. But yeah, so he's really going to split push comp, obviously. He's probably the best split pusher in the game because you can do it anywhere on the map. You could be, your team could push top and you could be bot lane just pushing because you can ult across the map. No one else has that. And it's just really hard to kill him as well. So if you can just taunt away, you can taunt towards you to kill you. Like once he gets going, he probably just dominates the map. So him and Nautilus are probably most likely to be nerfed out of all the jungles.
Sounds like a good thing for you to pick up, Sotir, for your next over the bar.
Yes, I will.
Oh, I thought you were going to say so he could add a third character to his repertoire.
Yeah. I need another one that's blatantly overpowered. No, I've always, Nautilus, every champion that Zyphorus releases, I'm like, oh, they're so overpowered. Like, I don't even know why. I just know Zyphorus made them. They're going to be super strong. So they need to, bring him back. Obviously, his champions are really interesting, but at the same time, they do get quite strong just because of, I believe, just their skill sets.
He's just overpowered as a champion maker.
Well, to be fair, Shen was underpowered, and I think Gwinsu remade him. And the problem is he buffed every single skill, including this passive. So when you do that, it's obviously probably going to be overpowered because usually when Riot buffs something, it's 1 or 2 things at a time, maybe 1 skill or by a slight amount. But with Shen, the Shen remake, he basically buffed him 5 times, really big. So I think they had a hot fix on the second day of Shen coming out to nerf him because it was blatantly overpowered. So yeah, he's been nerfed 6 times. So I don't know if they learned. I think they learned their lesson that you're not supposed to buff every single skill at once, or else it just scales out of control.
Right.
I feel like they should have known that before, but a lot of times they rework champions and everyone's like, oh, that's so weak. I think Ryze is one of the better examples. They're like, oh, he's so weak now. And then it takes the general populace a whole month to catch on to, oh no, he's actually really overpowered. So I think they've gotten away with it before because everyone was slow to catch on, but with Shen, people I think were just aching to get back into playing him, and of course he has global utility, and so as soon as he was buffed, everyone was on that boat. But we have some other pretty serious questions for you, if you still have the time. I think everyone who plays League of Legends, almost everyone, and has been a big fan of the online gaming scene, is also, bought Diablo and played it a little bit, Diablo 3, of course. So from the expertise you have, who is the best jungler in Diablo 3?
I'm actually. It's actually sort of weird. I played Diablo or Diablo 3 like twice. I think once at Gamescom in a preview, and then the
Mhm.
beta, and I didn't like it. I didn't buy into the hype. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if it's good or not, but it just seemed pretty boring. So I think I played Demon Hunter, and then I forgot what I played at Gamescom like a year ago. So I've not actually played the game aside
Oh
from
my goodness.
yeah,
I think
aside the beta.
there was another day, one of the day you were talking about on the stream about how much the other teams have been playing Diablo, and you thought that was one of the reasons why TSM was so much stronger.
So strong that you don't like Diablo. It was all conspiracy. We paid Blizzard to release it.
Yeah.
Had nothing
man.
to do with the billions of dollars they were going to make.
And it's all part of the plan. So yeah, I've not played it. So I don't know. It just felt lame. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but
So,
just didn't feel right. And yeah, I didn't want to play it.
OddOne, I want you to give me some war stories of General Azingy. I know you two are in like this amazing war together right now. Try bot lane, a boo boo jungle.
I don't know. He just does stuff that doesn't work on paper, but then you see it in game, and he's running over my team, and I'm like, how does he do it? Like today, I was trying to outsmart him. Like I saw him on the other team. I was like, I'm gonna get him this time. So I told my mid lane to get blue buff, and I got red buff. And the idea, like usually TSM does this. This is like a strategy that solo mid uses. And then mid lane would push with their blue buff because naturally they're gonna outpush the enemy, and then I'd go steal red because the enemy jungle was Karthus, so I could easily take him at red. So then turns out we start doing it, and then I go to his red, and it turns out their bot lane apparently took their red, and Karthus has a blue, and then suddenly all the buffs on the map were killed at level 1. I'm like, holy shit, we did the exact same play. And then suddenly it's like a 4-on-4 fight at bottom jungle because there's no buffs. And everyone's wondering what the hell is going on. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's played a lot. I think he's played the most ranked games out of everyone on the NA server. Look it up. I think it's around like 2K. Let's see.
Oh, it's way over 2K.
Okay,
He's like
yes,
over 3K now.
Yes. Oh, holy crap. Yeah, 3,400 looks like.
Wow.
That's crazy.
He's been keeping
That's a
busy.
lot of Azingy.
Yes, so you're bound to pick up something. So yeah, he's done stuff like tri-lane or where he doesn't have a jungle. Like I was playing Twitch jungle, and then he decided to go Karthus mid with Smite, and they didn't actually have a jungle, and all he did was just kill his wolves and race after the buffs were gone. And because if you're jungle Twitch, you want to lane the gank, but the thing was, he knew he was the only lane that could possibly really be ganked effectively. So suddenly we have a 1-on-2 top lane. It's really hard to gank a 1-on-2 because if you gank it, it's just a 2v2, and you don't have the essence of surprise. And then it's sort of hard to gank bottom because there's tons of wards. So suddenly I was like stuck with nothing to do on Twitch because I couldn't steal his camps because Azingy was Karthus mid, just killing his own camps. I think it was Race and Wolves. So yeah, and they beat me like that because they didn't even have a jungle and they won. So I don't know.
Do you think it would have been different if you weren't playing Twitch? Like any other jungler? Or do you think it would have been the same no matter what?
Probably would have been better if I was something that scaled really well or a farmer. Like say Shyvana could steal stuff. But yeah, if I was something like Maokai and all this, maybe the result would have been different and we could take advantage of diving mid. But you can't dive mid as Twitch. It doesn't work that way. So it was just a free farm lane and I couldn't do anything that game. And it got really sad.
So when are we gonna start seeing you get triple Doran's wing in the jungle?
Triple Dorrance and...
Yeah,
The
I'm looking for
Azingy
triple
Amumu
story.
build.
The Azingy build.
Oh, Zingy. I tried it. It's alright. I've actually tried it in a scrim yet. I really want to see how builds like that do in scrims, because usually in tournament play you want to be really tanky, or maybe like tournament play you usually don't get that much gold. That's why I sort of don't like Lee Sin in tournament play, is if he doesn't get going, he never gets going and becomes useless. That's a big difference between high elo solo queue and tournament play. That's why I usually tend to pick jungles that have heart of gold Philstone instead of the Wriggles one. So I do play Nocturne a ton. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out who I get in tournaments that doesn't do that. There's Shyvana, Nocturne. Those guys just farm well, or in Nocturne's case, he ganks well. It's almost a guaranteed kill or pressure on the game. So builds like the triple Doran's rings is I haven't actually tried it in a real tournament game yet, but it could hold promise. But yeah, so it just might be harder to get the items needed because that's why everyone goes Fieldstone Heart of Gold. It's just really, really good because it makes up for the lack of farm that or lack of kills you get in tournament play usually.
I think you used to go double gold per 10 items in Season 1 on Nocturne, right? Didn't you go Heart of Gold and Avarice Blade?
I actually used to do Heart of Gold Avarice Blade, but then I realized Ghost Blade is a piece of shit item, and then I never
Wait, didn't you build Ghost Blade today on Olaf?
Let's see. Oh yeah, that's because I had like, I don't know, I had like 20k gold and was like, well, advisor, might as well get it. It's a good item to snowball. Like if you can get it really, really early and make use of it, but it's harder to do that in tournament play. Like if you get snowball in tournament play, it's better just to play safe because if you build Ghostblade and then suddenly your team or you start dying in fights because you're not tanky, then you've just wasted 20 something or 2,000 something gold on an item that's not useful until you're tanky, which means any lead you had is completely gone. So Ghostblade is decent, but I would not get it on a lot of jungles because it just costs a lot for a pure offensive item. Like I love Wit's Hand because it gives you defensive stats. It makes your attack damage varied, and yeah, it's just a good attack and defense item. So you don't waste 2,000 just for an offense item like Ghostblade.
Yes, it's an interesting look on how you build items when you're getting the double the stats that defensive and offensive. I don't think a lot of people look at it that way. They just kind of go, "Oh, I want Ghostblade because it gives me movement speed, attack speed, and some CDR."
Yeah, like usually people go, "Oh, why don't you build Triforce first on so and so?" It's like you're spending 4,000 gold on a jungle, a guy who doesn't get that much gold on an item that's mostly offensive. Like there's very low defensive stats, and you're spending 4,000 on it. So let's say you do finish it, and then in fights they focus you because you have no defensive items. So you're basically useless until you get, say, your first HP item because you're getting focused constantly. That's why you don't see Master E much in tournament play, if at all, because his natural build is to go offense, and then you see how long he lasts in fights.
Yeah,
I think this is actually a kind of good transition point into another question that we have here on the paper. Does anyone else want to go further onto this, or do you want to just do the transition now that I mentioned?
I think you're doing the right transition I was just about to do, so go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so we have down here, we have a question. If the jungle right now, you've been talking about it, it's a lot more about like the tanky and the crowd control and providing a lot of different things for your team, especially in the team fighting phase of the game. If this kind of tank and crowd control role kind of went into like a more damaging one, like maybe junglers would be more, like you said, more like a Master E who just deals a lot of damage. A, do you think this would ever happen? And B, if this were to happen, do you feel like there are certain characters that might kind of outperform the ones that we have now?
So there are a lot of stuff that have to happen for something like that, because if a melee is like a glass cannon, and if they're somehow viable, that would mean they have like kill out on, or everyone else is doing very low damage. The problem, like the difference between an ranged AD carry and say a ranged melee carry, like Master E, is the range AD carry is in range of people that might not be in range of him, but Master E is no doubt in range. If he's in range of someone, no doubt there might be several people on the enemy team that's in range of him because he's melee, he's up close. So the only way that could happen is if the base stats or something on the melee or bruiser type people would be buffed. I think there was a time where that was sort of like that. I can remember Tarek Garen or something, bot lane or something.
Oh, yeah.
There used to be like a bruiser meta where everyone was just really tanky and then built damage items because they realized that their base stats were very, very strong and like casters didn't do that much damage. And then AD carries couldn't do much until early game. Couldn't do much early game, so they'd have to wait until late game. So there was a bruiser meta. What else was the question? I missed forgot the rest of it.
I know Tom throws like 7 questions at you
Yeah,
and expects you to
I
answer
just-
them all.
Boom! I'm just like, haha, take all these. But like I think you kind of answered already. Like, what would have to happen for this to really go in? You know, like with like in this kind of team comp, I guess what we're kind of saying is, in order for a damaging jungler to come like rise up out of the rank, you'd have to have a team to build around it.
Yeah, you'd have to either have a team that builds around it, or yeah, someone like Kale. Kale would obviously be very good on it. Or just a lot of CC would help too, because if they're not stunned, they're probably killing the closest target, which happens to be a squishy guy, which is convenient. So you never want your damage dealer to be low range, or your highest damage dealer to be low range, because they'll never be able to get in close without being focused first. That's sort of why I think Katarina is really bad, because if she's the highest damage dealer on her team, she's the first to be focused unless she waits to go in last. I hope you can't hear anyone else in my house.
We just hear, it sounds like kind of like artifacts in the background of people yelling, but
Okay.
it's not that big a deal. You don't have esports dog
You
in
don't
the
have the
background.
esports dog that goes off every time a squirrel walks across your lawn.
So I wanted
Alright.
to ask you, Odd One, playing against like CLG EU and you got Frog in mid who plays AP Cog, or of course Anivia, you know, how is it playing against AP Cog, and what do you think of him as part of the meta? Do you feel that he's a great addition, or do you have to be a certain kind of person?
No, I've always hated the poke meta, because the poke meta sort of makes a lot of players on the opposing side useless. I remember at I think Gamescom last year we were facing SK and they did a poke meta, which was like Nili Soraka back when Nili Soraka was OP. I forgot what else they had, but it basically turned almost every role on the team useless unless you were like usually the game would probably end champ select, because there's simply no way to counter it. Games would turn into 60-minute spear fest until the spear team finally got enough damage on the tower. I hate AP Kog'Maw. I think it's just the most annoying thing to play against. Because it's like if you ever play against AP Kog'Maw, and say you're a jungler, and then say you're like Udyr or something stupid, you're completely useless in that. All you do is just run in like a goon and hope your team finishes off Kog'Maw, because there's not much you can do about it. Like unless you like had knowledge like from champ select, you're already useless. Like once the game gets to the poke phase. So yeah, I do not like AP Cog because he does so much damage from so far away, and it's like, what can you do if you pick the wrong champion? You might as well not, or you might as well not be in the game at that point, because AP Kog'Maw is AP Kog'Maw just destroy their team before you get in range, and then all his team has to do is just stand in front.
So your disdain for certain champions, will we ever see Reggie play AP Cog in the middle?
I think the reason why AP Cog doesn't work for us is we play really aggressive, and when scrims we'd lose before we ever got to critical mass, because we'd think that we had a really strong middle, but then it turns out we had a guy that was geared for late game. So I think we could make it work now, because that was probably, we were trying it out when we were in a slump, I guess, but it would probably make it work now, because we know, because one of the things that used to happen on this team is we never came back ever. Like if we were ever behind, we'd never ever come back. But I think we've always managed. Like we always like have a chance now. Like feels that we've been behind a lot of games and then we come out ahead suddenly. Like, so I think we could easily do AP Cog now. So I don't know. It could happen unless he gets nerfed again, because he was nerfed and then he still does hella damage. But aside from that, yeah, it's very possible we could play him.
I mean, how do you think they fix him? Do they have to like just kill
No.
the mana cost on his R, or is it just
No,
lost
it's not about
cost?
fixing. It's about just removing the ability to do that. I just hate that shit.
On top of all Yordles and
Yeah.
anything else that one hates, just remove them.
Ezreal, yeah.
Ezreal players, I don't know. They're all fairly bad. I don't even get, and the skin's not even out. It's like I'm 100% sure like all these Ezreal players just jumped out of the woodwork just to get ready to use them before the skin comes out. So yeah, it's gonna be real terror the next few days.
I just love it anytime there actually is a good Ezreal on your team. You're just like dumbfounded. Like, is this Ezreal
Yeah.
doing damage?
No, then we lose the game somehow. It just never makes sense. I hate it. Yeah, I think
little
I
rampart
forgot-
syndrome.
I think he lost to Draven today. I forgot. Yeah, we had an Ezreal, or it was yesterday that lost to a Draven. It was like, we lost like end game because Draven's better than him end game. It was so
Raven
sad.
does it all.
No, that was the only Draven game I've seen in like the past month. So it's pretty saddening.
Speaking of Draven, just kind of going off, do you like Draven as an AD carry? Will we see him, or do you think that mechanic is a little too intensive to be able to catch axes and whatnot?
I haven't seen him much at all. I don't even think I played a game with him. He was released before like the our California trip, before he went on free tourneys. So yeah. I saw him play it for like obviously on the release week. He's played a lot. Then when I got back, it's like no one was playing him. So I asked around, and people said they didn't like he had no escape, and his steroid wasn't as good as other people. So it doesn't make up for it. Like if you want someone that doesn't have an escape and has a steroid, you probably pick Kog'Maw because he's really good at that, or maybe Urgot. I don't know. It's not really technically a steroid, but Urgot's just really has a bunch of other stuff.
On a more lighthearted note, do you have a favorite skin in the game?
A lot of them are pretty good. Like, let's see, a few of the legendaries are pretty awesome. There's Space Teemo, Nunu bot.
Wait, did TheOddOne just say he likes Space Teemo?
My Space Teemo is so cool. I like Taunt's. Taunt's the best in the game. Yeah, there's Brolaf. Bruce Lee is pretty good.
If you had to pick one, can you pick one, or do you just have too many that you like right now?
Probably Space Teemo then, just because of his taunt.
I never thought I'd hear the day that OddOne actually said he liked anything about Teemo.
So never underestimate the power of the Scouts code. It's the best taunt in the game.
That's too funny.
All right. Besides your favorite skin, if you had a favorite character that you wish could be viable, maybe they are already, or maybe they aren't. Who's your favorite character?
Probably Lee Sin. He's just fun to play. I don't know, his skill set's just so much fun. It's like probably my funnest. I think it's my most played in solo queue, but I never play in tournaments because it's really risky. Like if you fail with him, you fail really hard in tournaments, so we stay away from him. But yeah, it's probably Lee Sin because it's my most played, even though I don't actually play him in tournaments.
I was hoping for like an Evelyn pick or something out of here, so
Tom,
someone could
no
join
one else
the ranks
plays
with
Evelyn.
me. No
Nunu was somewhat cool because he was one of my first loves, so why not?
I'll take it.
Pick Nunu. But yeah.
Actually, probably the most fun I've had watching your stream was, this is like way back beginning of season 2. I think you played Nunu on your Smurf, and you were just
People just didn't know what to do. Yeah, it was my rank sets on Nunu are like 60%. I think about 90% of those games were in like low elo games, so it was like really easy to carry because I'd counter jungle people and they didn't know what to do. Like at lower elos, they don't understand like what a counter jungler is. They don't never see a Nunu. It's sort of like just using someone like Maokai at lower elos. They don't know what the hell he does, and then he just kills everyone. So Nunu was sort of similar to that.
I think I was in a game with you at 2, 3, 4. It was a while ago, but it was relatively recently, season 2, where you're playing a jungle Nunu, and you were just like so astounded that someone knew that you were going to go steal their big raid. And I was like, wait, that's in your tutorial back from season 1. That's like what I know of you. That's what you're going to go do. And you're like, they must be ghosting me. They were like just waiting at that raid. I was like, oh man, I don't know if they were ghosting you or if they've just like read up on their odd one, because I've read up on it, and I like doing that as well.
So I'm going to move into some questions here from Reddit. We had a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to try to ask some of the ones that came in tonight. There's a few. Defiance on Reddit just asked, what's it going to take to change the meta, or is the meta where it's at? And do you like the tri-lane or the 5 TP meta? Do you think anything like that is going to take off in the future?
It would really depend. Certain picks are good for it, but if you remove a pick, like say Blitzstar jungle or double jungle, it actually does really well, but it's really hard to get both of those picks, so it's really hard to practice that, and then teams will obviously just ban it, so you spend all that time learning a new meta strat just to have it ruined by one ban. So sort of like Azingy's Carpus, he usually likes having Jan and Carpus. I mean, did I say tri-lane or... Anyway, Azingy's Carpus tri-lane thing, yeah. He usually likes having Carpus because it works like that. It could change, but the thing is it takes more like thought than just doing the cookie cutter stuff, so it takes a lot more thinking to change it, so it definitely could work. I don't know, 5 teleport. Because the thing is, teams usually will adapt better than in solo queue, 2-5 teleport. Like, if I ever see a promote, then obviously our team will know that the enemy will start pushing at some point, so we'll always be ready to group up and repel it, so that could easily shut down the strategy. So if a team's unable to adapt, something like 5 teleport could work, but in most cases, yeah, it'd take a lot more thinking and maybe skill to pull something like that off. But so that's why it's sort of hard to change the meta right now.
Do you feel like this is the most simple way to play the game then?
I don't know if I'd say that. Or maybe it might be a more efficient way, but yeah, I don't want to spend hours on it trying to
Right.
figure out how to break it. Like, yeah. So I have no idea. So right now it just seems logical, but I haven't actually put much thought into seeing how much further I can make it different or something.
Well, we've talked about it on Trinity Force, and we've actually heard Moscow 5 come out and say this is where the easiest way to play the game and the way it's probably going to stay for the rest of the time League is out with the 1-1, 2-1 in the jungle just because of the way the meta works.
Well, it might not stay that way if, let's say, like Riot could easily change it. Like if they say dual lanes or tri lanes get more EXP or something, or like are able to share EXP better or something, it could change it completely. But yeah, it might actually have to be done by Riot's side because yeah, if they buff or nerf something accordingly, something like that could happen. And so yeah, but yeah, right now
that's
it's
a good
really hard
point.
to think of something better.
Moving on, we have another Reddit question. It comes from Neon Cutie, and I'm going to read this kind of verbatim, so excuse me if I butcher it. He goes, in an interview on solomid.net from last August, you said that you couldn't understand people's desire to watch your stream, and I'm assuming this is a quote from you. You may have said, I figure it'd be like Dyrus playing, but less funny, more jungling, and tons of swearing each time I screw up, often comboed with a table slam, as I make my mistakes, as I take my mistakes the hardest. Do you suppress your anger on the stream? Or do you do anything differently when you're on stream?
I think recently I've just been trying to be more calm and not rage at all. Probably it comes across as raging sometimes. Sometimes I rage, yeah, but most of the time it's trying to just have fun right now. But yeah, that was before I started streaming. Like I was in Calgary and the internet sucked, and like that location's pretty bad, ping, etc. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't figure people would obviously watch me stream because I think at the time it was Hotshot, Dyrus, Reggie, like all the top streamers weren't actually junglers, so I figured no one really cared about PvE. But apparently you can really commentate much easier jungling than anywhere else because you get to it's always volatile. Like the jungle is more volatile than probably any lane in the game because different stuff happens, different routes appear. Like you have to adapt to the opponent. You don't do the same thing every game or else the opponent will overrun you, so there's more time to commentate, more time to make up stuff, so yeah, but do I suppress my rage? Maybe slightly, but yeah, I just usually try to have fun. Like, people say I'm like mad sometimes, and then I'm actually not, I'm just trying to have fun, or maybe I yell at someone, but I usually yell at the monitor or something, I guess, that could count as rage, but yeah.
Yeah, we've all definitely been there. I've thrown my head back in shame a couple times, screaming, "No! Why did I do that?" And just kind of move on, laughing about it.
That's the PG version, by the way.
Yeah, I guess I sort of try to suppress it, but yeah, usually my mistakes. Yeah, I get really mad at that, so I swear when that happens, and yeah, I say my bad or something stupid, or I'm dumb. Make sure I don't do it again.
Well, sometimes it's the most fun to watch you. I'm watching you play Warcraft because I know you're having or Warcraft 3. You're having a ton of fun.
I'm so
playing
bad at that right now. Yeah, like I think if I commentate on it, I'll do worse. But at the same time, it's no fun watching me just not do anything. And
it's more fun watching you scream, TSM, Baylife, TSM, and you're killing the other people, and it's just fun watching you because you're very eccentric when you're playing.
Yeah, I had a fun game, this morning, because I was making fun of the opponent for going... I don't know if you guys play it, so... He has, like, this guy has a spell, or the paladin has a spell to heal, or one that makes him invulnerable. He picked the aura, which is pretty shitty, and then it doesn't actually do anything, so I was making fun of him each time I got there.
Yep.
So I knew, since it was an easy game, it was much easier to commentate something like that than a hard game where you're getting your ass kicked.
Go ahead.
Have you been surprised at, I mean, how fast your stream has kind of taken off? Because like I remember watching you, I guess when you first moved into the TSM house, and you had a decent amount of people watching. Like, I think it was like maybe under 1,000 initially,
Yeah,
but
it
then
was like 800 or something. Like it was between like then I'd get like happy when I got like 2K or something.
yeah, and then I guess it was after MLG Providence where you your
after
Malachi destroyed, and now it's like 20,000 every single day. Like,
Uh,
it's-
yeah, I got lucky with that, the MLG thing. Like usually when after a big tournament win, more viewers will come to you. You just have to, yeah, maybe I'm sort of surprised how fast I got big. Like I figured, like if you're gonna have a bunch of viewers, like you gotta just work for them. You gotta retain them. Like yeah, I could just like play or like not say anything, just play the game and not like commentate or anything. But if you want to get viewers, like you have to commentate and stuff like that. Like the first step, the hardest step obviously would probably be getting those viewers, and then like I think it's easy to sort of retain them as long as you commentate and stuff. Like obviously, like yeah, MLG after MLG Province, I think I got like started getting like 6K plus suddenly, and then I retained those viewers, so that was really, or I retained a lot of those viewers, so then it just grew from there. Yeah, I'm sure the tournament wins in California sort of swelled my numbers recently, so that's good too. But yeah, I'm sort of surprised that I managed to become Voldemort. Like I used to joke about. I used to joke about being hotshots. I told everyone not to call or not to say his name on my stream. Like I always call him you know who, and then he actually mean Voldemort, and so it just took off from there. The top streamer would be called Voldemort. You'd never be allowed to say his name or his actual in-game name on stream, or else all the viewers would go to him because they know that so-and-so is actually streaming. So we'd always call Hotshot Voldemort, and then
now you're
then
Voldemort.
yeah, then one day you realize you're the villain, and then everyone else is a good guy, and then yeah.
That's funny.
Have you noticed any difference, I guess, in the audience or how you interact since you moved over to Twitch? I guess like a month or two ago.
The thing I like about Twitch is the chat. Like, I can actually talk. Like, sure, maybe there might be childish people in the chat, but I can actually like interact with them, answer questions and stuff. Like, sure, I get less viewers because I believe there's servers, there's certain regions that don't have servers. Like, I'm surprised, like, or pretty shocked at what different countries come to watch me. So, like, yeah, I get them from like all over the world. So I'm pretty sure. Like, yeah, there's guys from Turkey, there's guys from like every European country essentially. There's tons from Asia. Yeah, like South America. I don't know if there's any from Africa. I assume there probably. So yeah, the Twitch just yeah, they might not have servers everywhere. That's a shame. But the chat is really nice. Like I can interact on a one-on-one basis and during queues. I sort of didn't like IRC because I'm a retard and didn't know how to use it properly, so it got really bad. So. And the thing about the Twitch chat is everyone can really easily do it, not just a few people. Like, the thing about the own system was not many people use the IRC chat. Like, I see far more people. Like, it's far easier to make a Twitch account and start chatting than make an IRC account and find the solo made IRC. So it's much easier to communicate with fans right now. And like, a lot of people use my Facebook and Twitter, but often I don't have like. It's not like it's convenient to ask or respond to questions like I do on stream because I see it right there on the chat and I can like answer it. Like even in games, some people ask me questions and I answer it if there's downtime. Like when I'm in a game because I have a second monitor with the Twitch chat open. So yeah, it's like and because I know that they must be watching if they're asking something there. So it's not like Twitter. If I see a question pop up on Twitter, I can't just answer it on stream. I have to actually type it out to the person because. Right. I don't know if they're still watching.
Well, the next time you see Clippity Cloppity, you'll know who's doing that. It'll be one of the guys from T-Force. He started the chant. Ostlander started the fire.
Yeah.
Moving on to another Reddit question. It comes from Avora, I believe is how you say it. And you're more than welcome to decline any of these questions I ask you, so I'm going to throw this out there. He asks, how do you handle your swings in the community's opinion of TSM? He says, if you win, you're the best team ever, and if you lose, you're the most awful, and you guys should quit.
Probably should just ignore those guys. Like I know Dyers probably takes it the hardest, which I always tell him don't take it that personally. Some people will never be pleased. Those are the bandwagon jumpers. So you just want to kick them off your bandwagon, and they'll give a shit about them. Because, yeah, you just have to ignore that and just do your best. Like maybe like sometimes maybe they might be slightly right. Like it's not like they're like petty little low elos like grubbing their claws at you. You have to sometimes maybe take their advice with a grain of salt and say, maybe you're slightly right or something. But like if they're like just mindlessly hating you, then maybe you should ignore it. But you just have to shrug it off and yeah, just move on because yeah. If you lose and your opponent should quit. No, I don't think so. Yeah, you're in the wrong business if you take that really personally. So
Yeah, that
you
sounds
should
like
just
a lot
try
of
to
other
ignore it and move
businesses.
on.
I would have quit this game years ago then.
It's an everyday occurrence. We tell Tom how much he sucks because he's the guy who tries to run Rage Blade on every character he plays.
Works on Twitch. Should try it sometime. I think scales 1 to 1.
Oh boy, the one. Oh.
Also, I know you got a question about Twisted Tree Line, as it is one of your favorites.
Yeah, Twisted Tree Line's near and dear to my heart, and I know you. I think you were rank 1 at some point during season 1,
Me, Locust, and Frost. We're on
Right.
the same. Yeah.
and I guess you just abandoned it. I think because it was just the queue times were ridiculous.
The queue times were ridiculous, and there's like no competitive support. So it's like you're playing a game that's starting to become like a chore, and then you realize there's no competitive real scene or anything, no tournaments or anything. And
Right.
I think we tried to sign up for a Reddit tournament, but then they told us we were too pros or something, or we were like too pro or something, and they didn't allow us. It was like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, there's just no reason to keep going with it. But yeah, me, Frost, and Locust were doing really good on it. So, but yeah, now whenever someone mentions Twisted Tree Line, it's like, what's that? And then move on.
I mean, you would never. Do you think they could save it? Would you ever play it just for the heck of it?
It's sort of like Dominion. It's like just another game mode. Maybe I'll play it, but I would never try to take it seriously because, yeah, there's just no future in it. I don't know. It's probably not as fun as Summoner's Rift. Like that's one problem probably with Dominion is it's not there's not as much depth. So it's a good maybe it's a good game to play when you're need to relax or something, but Summoner's Rift is just proven to be really, really fun, and there's a lot of depth to it. So, yeah, I was doing a comparison on my stream. It was like, yeah, like Dominion's like checkers, and then chess is, or I mean, Summoner's Rift is chess, and then everyone's like, oh, checkers is the shit. Don't say that about checkers, but that's sort of how I see how it is. There's just so much depth in Summoner's Rift compared to Dominion. So
no hope for TSM Dominion team anytime soon.
No, I
Just
think
stop
it was
practicing.
at MLG that you and Chaox lost 2v5 against bots in Dominion, if I remember correctly.
yeah, we're supposed to. Yeah, apparently one of the rules was we weren't allowed to play in Summoner's Rift or practice on Summoner's Rift. So it was like, fuck it, we're gonna warm up against bots. So it was just me and Chaox against bots at MLG. Yeah, we lost because we couldn't protect all the nodes. They kept cheating and like spreading out and taking all their nodes at once. Yeah, bots are OP 1.5.
So speaking of MLG, why don't you give our viewers a little bit of insight into the tournament play? Kind of how it goes, how your general morning is. You wake up, eat breakfast, walk down there. I'm assuming, and can you give us how your normal day would go at a MLG or any big tournament?
Okay, so we'd be in the hotel room. I'd probably get up first because everyone else is lazy. I'd probably probably either walk somewhere to get something to eat, somewhere close. Like I always want to get up early and be ready. Like I never want to be late to a tournament. That'd be really dumb. So even if I get tired later in the day, I know we have Red Bulls. That is like the secret TSM way. Actually, we've always had Red Bulls when we win. So. So yeah, we get ready, and then we get to the event somewhat early with all our stuff. So for MLG, we get up early. We walk to convention center since it was close. usually we want to be there a couple hours early. Like the atmosphere was actually pretty good the first day because there's like all these big teams. That's probably the biggest. Like I think Keox had a vlog on our YouTube channel. Like it's probably